Hey Slavic Vikings, and welcome to a video where I'll be reviewing the top posts of all time from the official polandball Reddit, which is the biggest community in the world of Countryball fans. But why am I doing this? Well, in the last couple of weeks, I've moved my channel in the direction of making more Countryball videos, and the simple reason is that when I make videos on Countryballs, it seems to get more views. However, because of this response to my Countryball videos, I made a community post asking, do you want more videos on Countryballs? And the reason for this is because I have a bunch of other ideas to make videos on topics that aren't necessarily totally related to Countryballs. However, the reception from the Countryball videos has been so good that I decided to make this poll, and from the results it seems like you guys want more videos on polandballs, so I'm gonna make this video. The second reason I'm making a bit of a lazy video like this is because I'm having a lot of wrist issues from, I think, using too much of my PC and stuff. And because of that, I can only use my left hand to use the mouse, and it's really hard because I'm obviously used to using my right hand. So yeah, I'm a bit handicapped right now, but I'm gonna try to make this video anyway. And listen, I'm a man of the people. I'll do whatever video you guys want. However, the issue is that I have no more ideas to make Countryball videos. So please write down in the comments if you have any ideas for me to make any videos on Countryballs. Don't write anything in the sorts of why is this country drawn in this way, because I explain every single exception in my newest video. So like and subscribe if you want more videos on Countryballs, leave a comment with ideas for those Countryball videos, and let's get on with the video. Okay, so here we are on the polandball Reddit, and it seems like the most upvoted post of all time is this bit of a random meme with 40,000 upvotes about Sweden and the US. I believe I showed this meme in an earlier video of mine, but I'm gonna review it again here. Since I didn't review it then, I just kind of showed it on the screen. And immediately I would like to say sorry for my awful accents. I'm gonna try to do the accents of the country I'm talking as. I'm really bad at accents, so please excuse me. I'm just gonna do it for entertainment purposes. And let's get on with this most popular Countryball comic of all time. As you know, the US loves engaging in the Middle East, and the US is invading Afghanistan here. They're saying, self-defense, motherfucker. And then Sweden replies, make halt, you is under arrest. You can't just make assault on a people. And here you can see Sweden is very liberal, very loves rules, and doesn't like violence on Middle Eastern people, especially when like 30% of your country is Middle Eastern people. Sweden is complaining, they're claiming to be like the global police, I guess, in this meme. And then the US is confused. How dare this tiny country of Sweden object me? You know who I am, right? Let's just solve this with some Benjamins. And then Sweden replies, don't care, because Sweden is a socialist country and doesn't care about money, or that's what Americans think. And then the US is absolutely shocked. How can Sweden not care about money? Remember the Illuminati thing? US, all America cares about is money. So America gets a blue screen and dies because it's so confusing to the American mindset of how can there be something more important than money? Health, quality of life, longevity, all those things don't matter if you don't got some Benjamins. So that was the most popular meme of all time on this Reddit. Let me know if it deserves this #1 spot. Okay, so actually I'm gonna start ignoring these. Next up, this is a meme we definitely didn't see before, so let's check it out. So everybody is calling America white supremacists. You mistreated the natives, you're racist. You ruined the natives' lives on rightful land. And this is obviously referencing the manifest destiny of the Americans, how they kicked out the Native Americans to settle their land. And everybody's being angry at pro-USA. I don't know why the French are angry, since they basically did the same, except Napoleon just sold off their claim. So that's the only reason there isn't a French America. So I don't think USA should be part of this criticizing community. Poland, sure, Poland always was anti-imperialist, but it makes sense. But here you can see, just off the side of this bullying of the USA, Canada and Australia are saying, act natural. And that is because it is kind of true that the US gets the most of the attention when it comes to being criticized for mistreating the natives. But if you look into what Australia and Canada did to the natives, they did some horrific stuff that could be even considered worse than the Americans. Especially the Canadians for some reason. For some reason they're so kind. You can't trust people who are that kind like these Canadians. They must be hiding something. And I've only heard of memes and stuff, but the Canadians have done some scary shit to the natives. But let's move on. So this is a map of the 2017 World Summary. You can see that this has much less detail than the newer ones. It's kind of interesting to see. So this is another post by Simon Trome. He seems to make many of these top upvoted memes of all time on this subreddit. And this is another meme I've shown before. It's just the two towers, getting hit, 9/11. And then the US cries to the rest of the Western countries, "Twice? Those motherfuckers hit me twice. Who would do such a terrible thing twice?" And then just Japan chilling there. This is a very edgy meme referencing, Japan getting bombed twice by the US during World War II. So how can the US complain about just some two towers getting hit when two cities got bombed by the Japanese? No comment. It's kind of funny meme, but very, very edgy. And then here we have another great meme. It is a simple depiction of the different climates around the world. So in Canada, you can see the winters are extremely long. Then spring is just normal spring, summer is pretty hot, and then fall is just normal. However, in the United Kingdom, it just rains every season, and then in the summer, it's extremely hot. And then in the Philippines, it's just extremely burning, or there's like hurricanes, what's it called? Hurricanes, or typhoons, I guess, yeah. So I guess the Philippines just has the same climate as Florida. So maybe that's why the Philippines were colonized by the Spanish and the US, since both the Spanish and the US have similar climates to the Philippines. Okay, whatever, I'm reaching out right now, so let's move on. So here we have another meme that for some reason doesn't depict the US as having sunglasses. It's breaking another rule. Oh no, Reddit mods ban this. So America is on Tinder. They're 240 years old, which is almost underage for Countryball years, since it's very young for a country. Description for their Tinder profile is, "If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best." The typical white girl Tinder description. And let's see America's worst, shall we? So America is eating dinner with Canada and I think Poland, and then the US says, "A tip? You mean a handout?" Part of this comic right here makes absolutely no sense, since, okay, sure, Americans might be focused on money, but isn't the US the country that is known to give tips? Europe is the place where you don't give tips. In the US, it's like you have to give tips because the fucking restaurants don't pay their workers. So I don't really get this part of the meme, but whatever. It's just meant to show that the US is greedy, I guess. Another thing US does is they are pouring out coal waste into nature's rivers, and then Germany looking at them suspiciously, and the US saying, "What? Quit judging me, okay? It's good for the economy. It grows the economy. I decided I need my personal space, so I'm building a wall in our apartment to separate our halves of the bedroom. You're obviously paying." This is in reference to, Trump wanting to build the wall and then wanting Mexico to pay for it. So look at all these awful things the US is doing, and then the United States posts on Twitter, "Another boyfriend leaves, sad. Where are the men who are loving, loyal, and let me bomb their allies whenever I want?" So here you can see the egocentric USA doing awful things and then complaining that other countries don't want to be their friend. This is an okay meme. I'm giving it a 5 out of 10. So this is an interesting meme, especially considering the context that it was made 7 years ago. That's a really long time in internet years, so let's take a look. Soviet Union, 1932. The Holodomor from Ukraine. more than 3 million deaths. That's a lot of deaths. And if you don't know what the Holodomor was, a couple years before World War II, Stalin was, reshifting the economy of the USSR for it to be more communistic. And as you probably know, Ukraine is the most fertile place on earth. It's called the breadbasket of Europe, or breadbasket of the USSR. And most of the food in the USSR was produced in Ukraine. And you know what communism believes in? Communism believes in sharing all the resources. So basically what the communists did in the USSR during those 30s was they forcefully took all the bread, all the food from Ukrainian farmers. They spread them out into smaller centralized farms. They took all the wealth and all the grains in order for it to be spread out around the nation, mostly to subsidize people moving into cities. And the consequence of this was that millions of Ukrainians died from starvation. It was like illegal to eat your own grain and stuff. And yeah, this is just like one of the biggest arguments against communism, because you can't have a centralized economy. Look what will happen. And so yeah, this is how the meme starts, just showing the Holodomor. A very, very big tragedy, which I'm sure Ukrainians have not forgotten. And then we have a second tragedy just a couple years later, the Holocaust. And here over 11 million deaths happened, which 6 million of those were Jews. So here we have another tragedy of the Nazis killing a bunch of Jewish and Polish people and Slavic people, and even other Germans, you can see, which was true. For example, communists were murdered in concentration camps. Next up, probably a thing that was even worse than the Holocaust and the Holodomor, the Nanking Massacre. I talk about this in my previous video, I believe, but it's just the awful atrocities that the Japanese Empire did to the Chinese. Like, they would kill babies and put them on spikes and shit, and much more worse stuff. And then the Armenian genocide that Turkey to this day doesn't recognize, but Hassan did. So this meme is just showing awful genocides happening in their recent history. And then Canada, 1962, the creation of the Hawaiian pizza, first documented occurrence of pineapple on pizza, countless victims. So this meme is saying that compared to all of these atrocities above, Canada creating the pineapple pizza is not even comparable. And I didn't even know, did Canada invent the pineapple pizza? Let me check. A Greek immigrant who moved to Canada in 1954, he created the first Hawaiian pizza at his restaurant, blah, 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 blah. So it's true. A Canadian invented, or I guess a Greek Canadian invented the pineapple pizza. And I'm gonna be honest, I love pineapple on pizza. I disagree with this meme. I believe these genocides up here were way worse than the invention of the Hawaiian pizza, because I love the Hawaiian pizza. It gives you a perfect blend of sweetness and sourness and umami in your flavor. If you're a good chef, you know that the secret to having a good meal is mixing all the flavors into one delicious meal. Give it a try. Don't hate on it before you don't try it. I've also been a hater of pineapple pizza for many years, but then I started trying it a couple of times and I realized I get it. However, I've never tried banana on pizza, and I never will because that sounds disgusting. In Scandinavia, when I lived in Denmark, they do a bunch of weird shit on pizza. They add kebab. There's kebab pizza's popular, salad pizza. They just put a whole ass salad on a pizza. The Scandinavians, they love messing with their pizzas. I think I'm open to experimenting with my pizza. I also love seafood on my pizza. That's also a great idea, shrimps and stuff. So this meme gets a 1 out of 10, because I disagree. Genocide is bad, guys. Okay, next up we have a comic that is surprisingly very high quality, but let's see how it will parody the United States mentality. So here we can see cavemen USA working, plowing the fields, inventing the wheel, and doing some, what's it called, like they're making a statue of a rock. And would you look at that? I think they found a gun, and they also invented some more stuff, and they invented a gun from the rock, or found it, I'm not sure. And what? Why is this gun pointing at me? And America Ball is a bit confused. What the fuck is he building here, like a trebuchet? And then, Jesus, extremely gory fucking destruction of two USA balls. And how do you think the US reacts to innocent victims being shot by a gun? You can see them being extremely shocked with the Countryball organs being spilled out on the floor. How will the US react to this? Well, obviously they start worshipping the gun, just like they are doing nowadays. Who the fuck cares about innocent people dying? I want my freedom. I want my freedom to carry my weapon and kill innocent civilians. And that is how the second commandment, I guess, from this meme got created. Let me read the values of America. What was America built on? First, never question gun. Don't make your gun angry. That's good advice. You don't want to make your gun angry. Second, what gun giveth, gun taketh. Third, gun works in mysterious ways. No one knows how guns work. Those Chinese invented them. It's some Chinese magic. This is the religion of the US nowadays, is they basically worship the gun. They worship the Second Amendment. So this is a cool meme that kind of parodies the illogical perspective of American gun owners. I'm not against owning a gun. I think it's very cool that America has this strong gun culture, but just don't complain when you fucking have a huge amount of shootings and stuff, you know? Personally, I prefer to live in safe Europe where it's a bit harder to get a gun than just fucking going to a Walmart or whatever. Next up, we have another meme making fun of the US. What are you doing? Practicing my heritage. So you can see the US saying, talking to southern states, I guess, like, why are you wearing this Confederate flag? This was the country that, you know, started the Civil War. They separated to keep slavery and all that. And then the US is confused, the normal US. The normal US puts fire to the Confederate US, and then he's saying, what are you doing? And he's saying, well, I'm practicing my heritage as well. Why? This is a hilarious meme that is saying, because it's kind of built into US culture to burn the Dixies, burn the Confederates. So therefore, both of these people are practicing their heritage, the South praising the Confederacy, and it is tradition for the North to burn the South. It's a boring meme, but it's a simple joke, so I'll give it the pass. Okay, this is a funny meme. 1918, after World War II, where Germany invaded Belgium and France, and, you know, a huge devastating war. The Great War happened. And then the Allies, they get together and say, we must ensure Germany is never capable of military might ever again. And what happened? Well, they failed with this, since after World War II, Hitler came to power and World War II happened. And what did they say after World War II? We must ensure that Germany is never capable of military might ever again. So once again, they do their fake promise of, we will stop Germany. This time we will make a balance of power in Europe that will be fair. And then in 2022, Germany, we need your military might this instant. They could never have come sooner. And I think, so I guess this meme is trying to show that Europe is being hypocritical by trying to arm Germany again. And this is all Trump's fault. I'm gonna say it, since Trump is forcing us European countries to militarize again to that 2% NATO threshold. I'm not complaining, but whatever. I wouldn't say it's the Europeans who are telling Germany to rearm. It's the Americans who are saying that Germany to rearm. I disagree with this meme. Poland would never be like, Germany, we need your military might this instant. Hell nah. Poland wants to be independent. UK wants to be independent. You know, I think this is a bit of a misrepresentation of the real geopolitical things on the ground. But I guess it's kind of true that the Germany is starting to invest in their military, and they're known to have one of the worst militaries on earth considering their economic might. Like, compared to how economically big and powerful they are, their military is basically worse than poor old Poland. I think that's kind of funny. So I guess third time's the charm. Let's see if Germany will conquer Europe this time. Okay, so this meme is really funny. You can see the US walking up to Poland. And by the way, important context, this meme was made 2 years ago. So remember that. USA walks up to Poland and says, "Hey there, Poland. Are you alright, bud?" And then Poland menacingly is staring at Article 5. The Article 5 button of the NATO rules, which say if any member state is attacked, then all of the other NATO states have to immediately and automatically declare war on the attacking country. And this is referencing the fact when like a Ukrainian missile fell onto Polish land a couple years ago, and everybody thought it was a Russian missile, and Poland wanted to start World War III. So it's a very funny meme, since Poland really wants to do anything to just destroy Russia. Poland is not known to be a practical player in geopolitics. They always will idealistically fight for their freedom, just like how they did in World War II. The French people, they were practical. They thought logically, and the French, they gave up. And that it was the smartest economic and cultural decision they could make, since their architecture and landscape and economy wasn't as devastated as in Poland. Step right up. Test your aim at the ring toss game. European Union is organizing some sort of game, and then the German ball comes up to it and says, "You there, young man, would you like to test your aim? Hit the pole and win a fabulous prize." Hit the pole? Oh no. Germany understood it wrong, and he hit the literal pole, not the pole in the game, like this pole. Very, very funny pun, since pole has two meanings, of a Polish person and metal pole. Very funny. Next up we have a meme about Spain. So here we can see Spain walking up to Catalonia and seeing them voting for their independence, and Spain is like, hell no, you ain't voting for your independence. And then Spain was, I was not expecting La Spanish Inquisition. Oh my god. So this is referencing the stupid meme of no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. The Spanish Inquisition was the reconquest of Spain when the Muslims took over it. It took like hundreds of years to reconquest the Iberia from the Muslims. I believe it's even the longest war on earth was this Spanish Inquisition. And this meme is referencing that, but in a different way, since it's just saying the Spanish Inquisition was Spain getting mad at Catalonia for wanting independence. Not that funny of a joke, kind of a basic meme reference. Why does this have 26,000 upvotes? Why do you guys want Countryball videos? Tell me, I don't understand it, but whatever, let's move on. So, Italy comes up to the US, and I believe the US is saying it doesn't like vaccinations, since, you know, the US has a lot of QAnon crazy people and they're like anti-vax and stuff. So Italy comes up to the US and says, America, what are you doing? I'm protesting. Schools are trying to kick out kids who aren't vaccinated. I got my freedoms and I believe in them. And then Italy just looks at it and it says, but America, you never used to care when your kids are shot. Okay, that's actually kind of funny. So it's saying, you don't care when your kids are shot in schools, but you care about vaccine shots. Hilarious, making fun of Americans. We all love making fun of Americans, right? This next meme with 25,000 upvotes might be my favorite comic ball comic of all time. And please have in mind that this comic is 7 years old and it's surprisingly relevant to our modern times. So let's see. Here you can see a bunch of 8 balls. 8 balls are just tribes without any identifying country. So the world is full of cruelty. That is the first message of this comic, and it's gonna try to emphasize this in different ways. So here you can see from the very beginnings of times in Africa, humans have had it tough with fucking lions getting after them and cannibalism. What the fuck is happening here? Balls eating balls. So the world is tough, right? Here you can see, please let me know what the fuck is this referencing. Is it some biblical shit? Why did he cut his heart out? Please tell me, what does this mean? But whatever. And then more cruelty with German barbarians destroying the Roman Empire. Oh fuck. And then you can see like burning the witch trials, another form of cruelty, and war in Europe. No matter the reason, Europe will always be cruel. Humanity will be cruel and violent, no matter the cause, no matter the cost. Humanity is inherently violent. However, the UN, the United Nations, the humanity, we must unite for prosperity. And then after world wars, after millions of deaths from huge violence, the United Nations has united us, and we focused on stopping wars and getting the economy back and growing. And then globalism happened and the world economy grew extremely. We're all in a globalist, united society, and it seems like this progress will keep going. Countries will keep uniting economically, culturally, and we will reach the final utopia of all countries being united into one government. However, we created the perfect world, blah blah. Yes, everybody's happy and rich. And then Europe is just chilling here in the European Union. But what's this? Russia and Ukraine are fighting each other. There's some chaos in Turkey. And there's still conflict all around the world. And then Europe says, I should build an army. And remember, this meme is 7 years old. 7 years ago, this was when the trajectory of globalization was growing all the time. It's only since COVID and the war in Ukraine that, countries started isolating and globalism and unifying governments around the world starting to stop. And this meme predicted the future. It predicted that basically this globalization, this global prosperity will stop growing to some sort of crisis. And it even predicted that the crisis would be involved with Ukraine and Russia. It predicted the Middle East fighting over oil. Let's hope it didn't predict the other stuff, which I can see here, maybe some nuclear war and some shit. China, reaching out to the China Sea. And here you can see the very real truth that Europe has to build up their army because of the chaos around the world. I found this meme really interesting since it's kind of predicted what would happen in the next years. Let me even see the comments of this post. Yeah, the art was also really good. Why is China poking Vietnam? Okay, whatever. Let's go back. So next up we have another meme about the US. So the US is reading their Bill of Rights, their 10 constitutional amendments, the most important rules for Americans, and they seem to be packing it. So they roll up their amendments, they put it in a bag, they take their Statue of Liberty, also put it in a bag, even their epic 2012 meme of Defend Freedom, and even the American flag. So it seems like the US is packing up for some reason. Well, I'm going now. I left some cheeseburgers in the fridge. If you get hungry, good luck, I guess. And then he says, and oh yeah, I'll be back someday. Don't worry. He sounds like my dad right now. Why is the US leaving? And would you look at that? He has the Ushanka hat, I believe it's called, the Russian hat, with a tiny Russian flag on it. So, according to this meme, the US is secretly Russian? And then secretly Russian US leaves with their freedom stuff and leaves Germany as the leader of the free world? That can't end well. I don't get this meme. What the fuck is the joke? Why is the US Russian? Why Germany as the leader of the free world? Is it because they will conquer the world again? Why is China leaving the responsibilities? Whatever, bro. 8 years ago, maybe that has something to do with it, that this meme is 8 years old. Okay, this meme is kind of funny. I remember it. It's when 3 years ago there was this huge football cup and the finals were, I believe, Spain versus England. Yeah, I think it was Spain versus England, and here this meme is saying that the entire world and all of Europe was united to get Spain to win and England to lose. I'm not sure why. I think people just aren't a big fan of England in football. But yeah, this is finally kind of funny that the European Union is saying, finally Europe is united thanks to football because everyone hates the British. And 3 years ago, I think Brexit already happened, so they weren't even part of the EU, so it makes even more sense. Next up, we have this meme. In response to the latest mass shootings that has happened, know that the US is taking a stand. No longer will we tolerate these blatant attacks on our freedom. Together, we will do everything in our power to prevent another tragedy of this scale. So the US is complaining that they constantly have school shootings. I wonder what they will do to resolve this issue. As we speak, drastic military preparations are being made against Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and 6 other nations. So we may... Psst, sir. What? You're reading the wrong speech. That was written for the shooter if the shooter were Muslim. Here's the typical shooter speech. Oh my god. Okay, so this meme is saying that that if the school shooter would be Muslim, then the US would start another world on terror. This is obviously referencing 9/11, since 9/11 was a terrorist attack, and you know, school shootings are kind of terrorist attacks. So if the school shooter was Muslim, this would trigger another war on terror. Kind of, this is a funny reference, but let's see what happens next. Oopsie! Just pretend you didn't hear that, okay? It's tragic, but given how unpreventable the shooting was, we can't do anything but pray. Let us pray for the victims' families and pray that we too aren't next. That's so funny. You know, the typical US doing nothing about their gun issue. This is a pretty good meme. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Pretty good, making fun of Americans. We all love making fun of Americans, don't we, folks? So next up we have this meme making fun of the British this time. So here we have the Battle of Sion, 1944, and this was basically just D-Day, the invasion of Normandy, and UK saying, bombs away, lads, boom, and Jesus Christ, Britain, you just killed thousands of French civilians, why don't you save your ammo for the enemy? And then the UK winks. And this is in reference to the UK having this, you know, century-old beef with the French, since the UK and France hate each other. So, you know, if you're gonna fight a war on the French territory, despite them being technically your ally, why not bomb some innocent French civilians? I get this meme. I would also bomb some French civilians if I had the option to. So actually I understand the British in this situation. Next up is an interesting meme. Let's see how different cultures throughout history interpreted where the world was and how it existed. So first of all, ancient Greece. Belief that the world is carried by a titan. This can't be good for the spine. So that's interesting, I didn't know that. Ancient Greek people believed that the world was carried by a huge giant. Interesting. What about the Hindus? What about the Indians? They believed that the world was carried by a giant turtle. I actually heard this one, and I believe the turtle was on elephants, and then the elephants on a turtle, etc, etc. This is actually a really cool theory, it's very fun and interesting. What about the Nordics? So the Norse culture believed that the world is sustained by a tree. How embarrassing. I'm Danish and I did not know this. So the Vikings believed that the world is like on a big tree, or is at least sustained by a tree. Typical ecological Scandinavians. Oops. And then modern America believe that they carry the world all by themselves. We defeated the Nazis by ourselves. 1 billion aircraft carriers. Puny Euros? Who's gonna leave to defend if I leave? No military presence. Defeated communism all by myself. What would NATO be without me? And, you know, another meme making fun of America. I'm noticing most of these memes are making fun of America, and I'm not gonna lie, I ain't complaining. No hate to the Americans, but this is just kind of funny. Like, I would rather be under the leadership of US imperialism than like Russian or Chinese imperialism, so I'm not complaining. But, you know, in the ideal world, we would be more peaceful and equal, but yeah. So, kind of a funny meme saying that the US worldview is egocentrical, narcissistic. USA thinks they're the center of the world. Another meme. So next up, this meme is actually 18 plus. So if you're under 18, close your eyes for a second. And here we have the US chilling, and then they're loading their shotgun. Oh no, US, what are you doing? Don't kill yourself. And then boom, close your eyes, kids. This is too graphic. This is too graphic. If you're under 18, you can't see this, guys. Bam, the US shoots themselves. Imagine if I actually get demonetized because of this comic. No way. And then what is this? Georgia? Georgia's saying, holy baloney, America, what the fuck are you doing? Just protesting. What the fuck is this referencing? Do Americans just kill themselves when they're protesting? What? 4 years ago? What happened 4 years ago where the US were just shooting themselves to protest? What? Such an interesting meme and kind of goric. So next up we have another meme about the US. Don't we love it, folks? So the US hit the EU with a baseball bat and says, "A tariff for you." Wait, before I continue watching, what year was this? 6 years ago. Okay, so before, or no, during Trump, I believe, yeah. So Trump is in power and he's putting tariffs on other countries because he's protectionist and wants, USA to be isolated. So USA ball hits EU and says, "Tariff for you. A tariff for China." Yes, that's right. It's such a smart decision. Let's put taxes and tariff the country that produces all our stuff. That sounds like a great idea. And the tariff for Canada even. I foresee zero negative consequences coming out of this. Yeah, no shit. Offending your biggest economic allies isn't a good idea. You know me, I'm a huge globalist. I am not a fan of where the world has gone in the last couple of years. We've digressed into our primal instincts of nationalism and countries fighting each other. I believe that a future without nationalism and countries is possible. We just have to use our logic, use our rationality instead of our emotions, and see our economic progress as our number one priority instead of nationalist infighting. If an alien comes and invades us tomorrow, we'll all be united, so that's what I'm waiting for, I guess. So this is a meme made 4 years ago, and it's referencing a mask? Was COVID 4 years ago? Oh, I guess it's 2024 and COVID-19. Damn. COVID was almost 5 years ago. Okay, whatever. Let me read this comic. What's with the mask? You look dumb as hell. It's to protect you. That's stupid. I can protect myself. I have everything I need to do so, and it ain't a fucking mask. I ain't afraid of no 5G or Antifa, because the US has guns and tinfoil hat, they don't need a mask. Hilarious. Another joke making fun of Americans for being stupid and ignorant. Damn, I didn't realize the US is hated so much on these polandball subreddits. I thought Poland was hated more, but I guess this is what gets the most upvotes. I'm sure, like, you all guys know this is all jokes, and Americans are probably the ones who upvote this the most, since Americans do like to make fun of their own country. I do love that about them. Let's not forget, I love America. No country is perfect, that's all I'm saying, okay? So here we have a meme where you can see America showing off their conservative side, their libertarian and Confederate side, where they make barbecues in the South. You know, we love Christians, you can see a Christian cross on America. So this is the conservative side of America. And then the conservative side of America kind of has conflict with other countries. Like Canada, France, Australia, Sweden, Czechia and the Netherlands are all very liberal countries who might not be a fan of these more conservative right-wing views of the Americans, and even you can see some Muslim countries right here saying that it is haram. I believe they're referencing that there's like bacon on the barbecue or whatever. So in order to appease these liberal countries, America goes all gay. But this is another problem, because Russia, Qatar, fucking Indonesia, Uganda, what is this, Iran, Belarus and Saudi Arabia, all these countries are saying, "America, why are you so gay?" And it seems like whatever the US does, they won't satisfy anyone. And Uganda says, "Why are you gay?" Very funny meme. So USA ends up putting the Confederate cross on a pride flag. And honestly, I believe the US should change their official flag into this flag. It represents the chaosness of their culture. And then the United Nations says, "What the fuck, US of A?" It's a funny meme. It's kind of showing the dichotomy of culture of the US, the relations that the US has to balance around the world. Who will you choose? These liberal Western countries? Or these very cool authoritarian dictatorships? Personally, no comment. Let's move on. So here we have a meme about Israel and Palestine. Isn't that just great? 3 years ago, so before the current things that are going on there, but let's see. Palestine, not recognized by Israel. Western Sahara, not recognized by Morocco. Kosovo, not recognized by Serbia. New Zealand, not recognized by map makers. And this is a reference to the meme that very often on global maps, New Zealand is forgotten to be drawn or to be showcased on these maps. It's kind of funny, and the reason for this is twofold. First of all, the population of New Zealand is very small, and therefore insignificant, some would say, for providing information. And more importantly, the location of New Zealand is literally close to Antarctica, at the very edge of the map. So whenever I want to show maps on this video, I have to decide, do I want to show New Zealand on my screen, or do I want to not show New Zealand, but have a more zoomed in map that will more clearly show the continents I want to actually focus on? And I must admit, very often I forget to show New Zealand on the maps I use in my videos. It's nothing personal, it's just that the placement of your country, New Zealand, is very awkward, and you know, it's not my fault you're fucking on the bottom of the earth. Next up, we have a meme about Belgium. Everybody loves Belgium, that's me. So Belgium is a non-controversial country that didn't do anything wrong, right? It has great beer, look at it, it's just best friends with Germany having the same flag but sideways. It has great waffles with its neighbor, Netherlands. Would you look at that? But no, France will never forget. Belgium is Satan. What did you do to Rwanda genocide? You cut off hands. The Congolese workers stink. Imperial, you are a stink. And then it has great flowers. But what are this? It seems like part of the flowers are fucking a grave of Congo, and obviously this meme is referencing the Congolese colony of King Theodore II, where during the scramble of Africa and the Conference of Berlin, where the European powers decided to split up Africa, there was the question about Congo, and it was kind of controversial because no one really wanted Congo, but no one wanted their rivals to have Congo. So then this tiny country of Belgium said, you know what? Let me take this colony, but let me make a correction right now. Not the country of Belgium, but the king. The Congolese colony in Africa was a personal dominion, a personal colony of the king, not the country. And this allowed him to do extreme genocide, extreme control over the population. And to this day, you know, people did not forget the awful genocides that have happened there. It seems like genocides are a running theme of geopolitics and Countryballs. That's just part of life. So let's move on. Here we have an interesting meme. The US is having a bath with petroleum. They seem to be suicidal again, and they light themselves on fire. This is all your fault. And then the Americans blame it on Russia. I mean, I don't know if like a Russian spy made this meme or something, because in my opinion it's kind of the opposite. Isn't Putin like known to blame everything on the West? But whatever. Sure, the Americans like blaming stuff on Russia, but I feel like they haven't been doing that in 40 years since the Cold War. So I'm not really sure what this meme is referencing. Okay, it was made 8 years ago. I was barely alive then, so maybe in 2017 some geopolitical stuff was happening where the US was blaming stuff on Russia, let me know. Next up, a meme about Quebec. Quebec, milady. Hello. Quebec, as you know, is like a part of Canada. It's what used to be the French colony instead of the British colony, and to this day they have a very strong identity. That's enough context. Quebec, milady. And it tips the hat. It seems like Canada's a gentleman. And then Canada again says milady to Quebec. And then while Quebec is shitting, Canada says milady. But would you look at that? While Canada was trying to hit on Quebec, trying to befriend Quebec more, it seems like Quebec was going on secret dates with France. Since in Quebec they speak French and their culture with France is very similar because they used to be a colony of France, Quebec is cheating on Canada with France. How dare they? And then later on, you can see that Canada wrote an incel post. Yeah, this meme is actually really funny. It's kind of connecting the geopolitical meme of Quebec having a really close relationship with France despite being inside Canada, and also connecting the meme of, you know, the typical nice guy, the Redditor. There's like the depiction of the typical Redditor with the fedora and saying milady, and then when they get rejected after trying to be nice to a woman, they say, why do you even bother being nice to women? you can be a literal saint, but all they go for are Chad douchebags who treat them like shit, while guys like me are put into the friend zone. Honestly, women are sluts who can't see good in a man if they get punched them. Oh my, what the fuck? Okay, so you can see Canada got mad because they got cheated. I like this meme. This is a like 8 out of 10 meme. Another meme about the USA and the UK. So here you can see that the UK called chips like American fries, and then the Americans call fries, you know, these McDonald's shit, and then the British call American chips crisps, and then the Americans call crisps chips, and the British call tea, and the Americans call tea fish food. And this is referencing the dumping of the tea into the sea, which was the declaration of independence by the Americans. Since, as you know, the tea massacre was about the UK wanting to put higher taxes on tea, and the US response to these higher taxes on tea was dumping all the tea into the ocean and saying, no taxation without representation, since they weren't represented in the UK government despite being an official colony of the British, and this was the de facto sparking point of what caused the independence of the USA. This is a very good meme, you can learn a bit of history from it. The beginning was, you know, it's a good like educational, oh look at this, they say these words differently, and then you get to learn some history. Very good meme. I'm not sure why America is like having a Native American hat. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the Native Americans who dumped the tea, but like white, half British people basically, but maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So here we can see Germany and Korea playing a football match, and then Korea says, yay, I won, and Germany saying 9, because it was 2-0 for Korea. How is it even possible? How can Germany lose? And then, don't cry, my dear grandson. Nazi Germany comes as a ghost and says, losing in Russia will be your family tradition. Yes, what? Losing in Russia be our family tradition. But Germany lost to Korea. And then why is Nazi Germany saying losing in Russia be our... What the fuck is... I don't get this meme. Explain it to me. Let's move on. Okay, next up we have this meme where China is watching some basketball, since surprisingly the Chinese actually are one of the biggest fans of basketball in the world, like the NBA and shit. And then the poor vendors are being shown, I guess the Avengers. And then the US censors the Avengers, and then China keeps watching and gives a bunch of money to the US. And I think this meme is referencing the fact that in the last couple of years, the US media, US Hollywood, has been complying to the needs of the huge Chinese market, since a lot of Western films are being watched in China, and modern Hollywood movies, the big Avengers and the huge movies, are censoring themselves in order for it to not to be banned in China. I think it's a kind of geopolitical win for China that it has so much cultural influence, or I guess financial influence, that it can cause such, you know, chaos. But yeah, whatever. China's gonna take over the world. Yay. So here we have a meme about India. Well, isn't that just cool? So you can see India worshipping an Hindu god. Stay true in faith. Live good life. So they're like moving their mottos of how to live a good life. Give food to the homeless, you know, be like Gandhi. So when the day comes, I will live further. So be good in life in order to have a good afterlife or whatever. Yes, is become cow holy. Okay. So now I get it. So the Indian bowl here is saying, be good life, pray every day, give food to poor people, so that when you finally do die, you get reborn as a holy cow. And this is referencing to the fact that Hindus, Indians, they believe in reincarnation, so that when you die, you'll be reincarnated as either a person or animal, depending on how virtuous you were during your lifetime. So if you were a bad, awful person, you're just disrespectful, not being a good Hindu, then you're gonna be reborn like as a pig or like a fucking frog or a fly or something. But if you were a good person, you'll be either reborn as like a rich person, like to a rich family, or a high caste, I guess, since they have the caste system, or as a holy cow, since the cow is the most holy animal on earth according to Hindus. When I was in India, this was very clear, since their cows are everywhere on the streets and you're not allowed to run them over or do anything. They're basically fucking the bosses of that country. So okay, so this India ball gets reincarnated as a cow, and that's great since cows are treated like kings in India. But then, uh-oh, I'm not a cow, I'm a goat. The goat, you could say. And then Pakistan comes with lube. And this is referencing the stereotype of Pakistanis liking to fuck goats. And this is kind of a funny meme. It references, you know, the reincarnation stuff of India, and then the fact that they love cows, and then it references a very offensive stereotype of some Muslim countries liking to fuck goats. I haven't tried fucking a goat, but I'm open to it, just like pineapple pizza, you know, we have to be open to different experiences. So next up we have a bit of a curse meme. T34 Kun, we can't keep meeting like this, we're enemies. But the tiger, Nechan, I love you. Mwah, no T34 Kun, stop, we can't do this. Clank, you can see tanks having sexual intercourse. But who is responsible for this? I blame America. So we can see that Japan is doing some fucking roleplay with tanks, with German and Russian tanks. Oh yes, hump my lump. What the fuck? So, and then Russia saying, I blame America for this, clearly referencing the 2 atomic bombs. The reason why Japan is portrayed often as this weird, you know, weird little ball is because it got nuked by America, and nowadays their culture is very feminine, very anime, chan, cool, blah blah blah. And I think it's kind of, I love memes that say that that modern Japanese culture is somehow directly correlated to the atomic bombings of Japan. I find that correlation to be very hilarious. So next up we have a meme with the China and the Uyghurs, I believe. It's like the Turkish minority of China, which is famously very controversial because they're held in like concentration camps where they're meant to learn Chinese and basically changed into the Han Chinese people. So here you can see, repeat after me, wo ai zongo, wo ai zongo. That is traditional Chinese. You uncultured goat fuck terrorist. Whoa, 2 goat fucking memes in a row. What a weird coincidence. So here it's saying, you're a Muslim Chinese, so you fuck goats. Another offensive stereotype. So China wants these Chinese Turks to assimilate to their country. And then Canada comes. What the fuck are you doing, China? That's so awful. No. You're supposed to start when they're young, you fucking dumbass. And then China says, note taken. And this is in reference to how the Canadians brutally assimilated the natives of Canada a couple hundred years ago. And nowadays they're this innocent country, but much like the Chinese are doing nowadays, they also use very immoral tactics to assimilate their native populations. But I guess it's worse when you're doing it nowadays for some reason. Let's move on. So next up we have a comic about Finland, and I'm gonna include this one just because the art is really cool. So you can see Finland chilling with another Finland, drinking Estonian vodka. So they're chilling. They're saying kipis, I'm guessing that's like the Finnish word for cheers. And then they're just chilling in a forest. And they're chilling even more and just drinking. And then a native Sami person is riding a deer. This flag you can see here is the flag of the native Sami people in northern Scandinavia. And there's a lot of Sami people in northern Finland. So yeah, whatever. And then they are there for so long that Poland comes during the evening. What's on their thing? Map. Oh, so Poland is lost in Finland for some reason. And then the Swedish gay parade comes, since Sweden is, you know, memed and known for being very liberal. Almost too liberal, some would say. So Finland is interrupted with gay Swedes. And then Russia also comes to visit Finland during this time. But then Russia leaves and it gets dark and they're just continuing to drink. But look at this, you can see beautiful northern lights. What is it? Northern lights, I believe it's called. What's it called when you have like the weird lights in the sky during, like when you're close to the North Pole? And then Finland says blabbermouth. I don't know what a blabbermouth is. Very, very like artistic, nice drawings. I don't really get the joke here, but yeah. I like this meme. It's very simple, but good in a good way. 40 degrees weather. For an Australian, 40 degrees is totally fine. For a British person, it's, you're gonna sweat a lot. But for a Canadian, that's absolutely unthinkable. So you're literally just gonna burn. 30 degrees is a bit better. The Canadians are just burning. The British person is sweating just a bit less. And Australia is chilling. And then we have 20 degrees. And when it's 20 degrees, it's kind of getting chilly for Australia. For the UK, it's perfect, I think. And then for Canada, it's still hot. And then, it continues like this. 10 degrees, it's still hot for Canada. Okay, I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it seems like it's perfect temperature for the UK. And it's a bit chilly for Australia. 0 degrees, Australia is already freezing. This is perfect weather for Canada. And a bit chilly for the UK. And then we can see already Australia is freezing. UK is even starting to freeze, but Canada is still chilling. And then Canada is perfect in minus 20 degrees. Australia is totally frozen and the UK is also frozen. This meme is very funny. Different countries, different climates. Hilarious. Let's see the meme about the Russian horse. Xik xik xik, or like Chinese laughing. America fell for a trap, ha ha ha. So Russia and China are trying to trick America by giving them the Trojan horse, where you give a gift and they're like hiding something inside. And then let's see what China has been planning. Soon, he will explode with a bomb. No, soon a mini horse. So it seems like there was some sort of miscommunication between China and Russia. The Chinese made the mistake of giving the responsibility to Russia to design the Trojan horse. And Russia, instead of putting a bomb inside of the Trojan horse, they made those babushka dolls. Wait, let me check. What's it called? The Russian dolls. Matryoshka doll. So instead of building a bomb, Russia built a Matryoshka doll. If you don't know what a Matryoshka doll, I'm sure you know what it is. It's these dolls right here, where there's a doll and a doll and a doll and a doll. And that's what Russia did. It's a basic joke. Kind of funny, kind of not. It's a 5 out of 10. Another meme making fun of British weather. There's a lot of these as well. So the UK is chilling. They're saying cricket, spiffin, balov, quite pip pip, I say gin, tally ho, what? I don't understand the meaning of these words. But then a cloud comes and the UK says to the cloud, "Why, hello there, Mr. Cloud. What has your noble What has your noble celestial self brought us today?" And then it seems like a snowflake is falling. And the UK gets scared of the snowflake and says, "The apocalypse." Is this because it doesn't snow often in the UK? Is that the joke here? I don't get it. We've reached posts with 18,000 upvotes. Let's see if we can do a couple more. You look great, Ukraine. Oh wait, I want you to try this one. It's perfect for the occasion. Take this too, it matches perfectly. Let me check my closet again. So here you can see Ukraine armed the fuck up because the US has given $250 billion to Ukraine and a shit ton of guns to fight off the Russians. Oh no! Dear silly me, I guess my generous excitement I have gave Ukraine all of my old hand-me-down weapons. You know what that means. American shopping spree. And this is a perfect opportunity to talk about the US military industrial complex, since let's not pretend like the US just gives out guns to Israel and Ukraine and a bunch of countries, all of NATO and all those countries. Let's not pretend that US is doing this out of the kindness of their hearts. The US is giving away guns to the entire world because gun manufacturing, weapons manufacturing, is the only real manufacturing industry that has not been transported to China. So the more weapons US gives out, the more violence it de facto funds by giving out these weapons, the more the US industrial complex, the US military industrial complex will make money. So the more violence and the more war that happens around the world, the richer the US will get, because they get the money for manufacturing guns and weapons. It's an immoral, inevitable cycle of destruction and violence. The US and Americans have a bad incentive to fund wars around the world. I'm not a big fan of that, but yeah. Okay, so with that, we're gonna stop this meme right here. There is obviously still an infinite amount of memes that I can continue watching. That all depends on your guys' response to this video. Let me know if you liked this video. Don't forget to give me ideas for Countryball videos in the comments. Like and subscribe if you want more videos on Countryballs. And as always, farewell, żegnam, and goodbye.